Oof. We are live. Welcome back to Music Talk with Final Social Club with Groove Seeker. I'm your host, Jason Rojas, Wingman Groove Seeker. Our guest here, Joel. I'm pointing the wrong way. And Dom, Seeking a Thread. What are we going to talk about today, Groove Seeker? What is the...
Well, there's a new ghost haunting the VC. And that ghost is the median pricing of Discogs. We're going to debate the value of that median pricing. Is it reliable? How does it impact us as buyers and sellers?
Welcome, Frank. Why is this a topic important? You know, why? Why choose this topic? You know?
I think Discogs has become the authority on record pricing, and its intention is to aggregate data, not to necessarily dictate pricing. And I believe that there's a lot missing from this data. You know, we're not considering eBay sales, whatnot sales, in-store sales. And I think it's skewing the purchase prices of stores looking at records and how they're pricing them. And I think it's skewing the value. See some records overpriced, which we have some examples we'll go over from all across the spectrum. Reissues, OGs, audiophile records. So it's important because it drives the hobby. It drives the spend in the hobby, and want to educate people on what they can do outside of that median pricing to dig into some of the Discogs data and get better deals.
I don't like this false narrative that you're putting on Discogs, Groove Seeker. Very tricky. Very tricky. Let's shout out to Vinyl Kicks 86. Welcome, Andy G. All right. Let's have at it. We can do a round table here. Joel.
Hey, everyone.
Discogs Medium. Is it useful? Do you use it? Do you go buy it? Or is it fake news? Joel.
So you have to sometimes. I mean, I think ultimately there's two numbers that matter. You know, if you're selling things like what you bought it at, and the second number is what is someone willing to pay for it. You know, and I think, you know, the Discogs median price, like Groove Seeker mentioned, when it gets used by anybody, whether you're selling a record, buying a record, you know, it can mess you up, you know, because it's one data point amongst many data points. And, you know, it just sometimes people skew it too heavily. You got to pay attention to availability. You got to pay attention to condition and other things. So, you know, and how much you desire something, you know, as well. So, you know, there's times when the Discogs prices are a little too high, sometimes when they're a little too low. And, you know, we'll kind of get into some details here in a bit.
But I thought Discogs was telling the truth. Doesn't internet tell you the truth? Everything's supposed to be for real. You're telling me Discogs...
It all starts with the main problem being, as far as I can see, that, you know, people generally feel that records cost too much. And I think that's where the Discogs median price is causing a problem. When the median price is too high for something relatively common. But then there's other times, you know, when it's not. So
what's the matter? You don't like selling Rumors, Fleetwood Mac for $50? What's wrong with you? Come on now. The hell?
I mean, I don't think anything could stop the sale of Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Every time I have it in stock, it's immediately out the door. So
Joel is set up at the Austin Record Show, and he is telling me about Fleetwood Mac Rumors. How many copies of Fleetwood Mac Rumors was selling?
I mean, I had 4 and sold them all. It doesn't, you know, I'm always surprised every time because I feel like everyone has to own it by now, but you know, you still find people who don't have it, I guess.
Dom, I think you're on mute. I don't own it, Joel.
Well, I
I
have it for
refuse.
sale. I can sell it to you $24.99.
Dom, can you hear us? Dom, what do you think of the Discogs median? Oh, you're on mute.
He put himself on mute. Yeah, vinyl kicks mentioned if it has to be imported. That's the availability that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like if the median value of something is like $50, but there's none available in the US and you're in the US, well, you're probably not going to get it for $50.
Right. That's the problem with the median pricing, is that there's no descriptive data inputs. It doesn't tell you that, I think it'd be more helpful if they had median pricing for condition and then I don't think they do this. I dug a little bit. I don't know when that median pricing was established. So is it skewed towards the past 6 months, 12 months, 24 months? That's also another something else to be concerned about.
Yeah.
I think
I agree.
before it was like skewed to like maybe like 2 years worth or something, but then they sort of switched that a bit, right? And things get really skewed, right? If there was only like 1 or 2 items sold, right? Do you see how that's not enough data to determine a median value, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and you mentioned the record convention. I bought some things, and I'm not that guy. So you see them walking around, right? People with their phones in their face, and they're looking through records, and they're checking Discogs and saying, "Oh, is this a good price? It's not a good price." I personally think that's a horrible way to go through the convention, and sorry if any of y'all do that. But I bought some records, and I came home and I looked them up because I wasn't even sure what pressing it was. It's just I'm all about the music, so I wanted the album. And I come back and look it up, and I got some good deals according to Discogs median prices. I overpaid for some stuff at least according to the Discogs pricing. But I'm not. You kind of have to. It all kinds of evens itself out. I paid what I was willing to pay for it. So I don't think it helps anybody to sit there and with your phone in your face looking at Discogs when you're out digging for records.
But you're tying back to a key point, is that it's not capturing that in-store, in-person sale to represent that median properly, right? If enough people underpaid for that record, some of the records that you did, that would drive the overall median down. On Discogs, that's staying pretty steady. It's like the old price guides for sports cars. I used to aggregate from several sources, right? Not just, I think Beckett used to do it, right? It wasn't like they had a database at that time. It was all print and survey. So, but that's the thing. It's one small piece of the pie. And I was talking to Jason about this offline leading up to the show, is that I think the average record buyer now has no idea Discogs even exists. Like, how many people are going into a record store across the nation, like this up and coming VC that's being established, and checking what the store is selling versus Discogs? Like, they don't have that insight. So Discogs is not even capturing that feedback when they decide to sell records. Like, if there's a disconnect here. And I think it's a very specific niche group of people that use the site. So it's also tailored towards collectors, international buyers and sellers. It's not necessarily capturing the whole spectrum, skewing the median as well.
I have to disagree with you, Groove Seeker. Why? I bet you every Taylor Swift fan knows about Discogs. 100%. Right. They know it. They know when that market for the Lakes 45 RSD is going up or down. They're watching it like it's a stock,
I mean, it's hard to argue with some of these comments in chat. Casual buyers go to eBay. People are checking Amazon. I mean, I have friends. I just got done making a little meme for one of my friends because he wants a new Pulp album, and he went and pre-ordered it on Amazon. So I had to make fun of him endlessly. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue. I guess people are doing that. I don't know why anyone would want to go to eBay. I have not personally used eBay in probably 10 years, but maybe I'm missing
Really?
out.
Well, I use eBay all the time. At this point, eBay is half and half for me with Discogs, as well as just seeking out various retailers that have their own website with actual new records and used records in stock. That's a big thing I've noticed over the last couple of years is stores, websites, their own websites just being housed for used records. That's a great way to buy vintage records anyway. It can be anyway. It depends on who it is. So
I as a seller, I have more luck on eBay. I feel like things move faster.
yeah,
Yeah.
they do. I think if you're auctioning, you're going to move it. Hopefully it goes for the price you want. But in terms of median, I'll just say it's a starting point. As a seller, it's a place to start. But you have to look at, when's the last time it sold, at what condition, how many people want it, what's the demand for that type of genre these days. For instance, I found these, what the hell are they? Some Bobby Gentry records that you don't see too often, and I found them for nothing. And according to the median and according to what they're going for, they should sell for 25, 30 each. Now, I've had those for like 3 months. So it just goes to show you what the median shows and what it seems like the sales history shows doesn't always correlate. And now I can't exactly say why, because I found some eBay history that correlates those numbers. Maybe my research or my sales or my listings aren't being seen because I was blacklisted by Discogs. Maybe I'm being my search history is low somehow. I don't know how that could be if my record's listed in the cell anyway. So it's such a varied and interesting and wide array of sort of criteria you have to look at. But the median is a really good place to start. As a seller or as a buyer, I try to get as close to that median price as possible from offers, from talking to sellers, being like, hey, it hasn't sold in a year, and the last time it did, it was this number. How can we try to get as close to that number as I can so I feel good about myself? Because that's what it's about, feeling good about yourself, isn't it?
Well, what about buying collections, right? Because what if the median price is below what you bought it for? Then that kind of goes out the window, doesn't it, a little bit?
That's kind of another ball game in itself. It depends like how many you're buying. If you're buying in bulk, that's a whole nother story. I think you're buying at wholesale at that point. So that's a whole nother discussion, I think.
But that's the double dip that I was thinking about, right? Because we don't have to get into specifics, just use some round numbers here. Let's say a record is median price is $50. If you're a store, what are you going to pay the person coming in the store for that? $10, right? So if you're double inflating the situation because you're basing the sell price off the median, what you think you can get, you're now driving that price up artificially at the acquisition point and at the resale point. Whereas if it's really a $40 record and that's what you can actually move it for in the store, then you're going to give them, $8, let's say. And over time, that's a pretty big spread, right? We're not talking one-off records like you guys are talking wholesale. So I think that's the other thing too. If the store is using that as their resource, then they're automatically driving the prices up if the median's too high overall in most cases. So it's a little bit of a double dip effect.
Also, the store has to manage like how quick are they going to sell that record? That's another big factor.
Exactly.
If it's Dark Side of the Moon and rumors like I'll give you $25 to sell it for 40, I know I'm going to sell it today. That's a quick 15. So, maybe that's a little high, but I think there's certain record stores that are happy to pay pretty high if they know the titles are going to move quick.
That's true.
So in that way, median, you might be actually paying wholesale at median, depending on what it is. It is a lie, though, isn't it? It is kind of a lie overall.
It's misleading, right?
Misleading.
If you start to use it as the truth, right, and not question it, then that's when it gets into a rabbit hole, right? And that's my thing, right? When I see a seller at the record show, I mean, this was a good example, or at a shop, he gets a record in, he's immediately going to Discogs, right? He's not going to eBay, PopPsych, or something else. You see, he immediately using that tool, and I think I said this earlier or before, like Discogs wasn't necessarily meant to value the records, right?
It's just become that thanks to the user-friendly nature of it, right? It's become such a
Yes.
great database.
Correct.
But,
The unintended consequence, right?
yeah.
It's replaced that sort of experience that you get just selling over time, you know. Because I still think a record is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. And so you have like sellers using the median for the sale price, and also buyers, you know, saying I'm willing to pay the median price to buy it, you know. And so, and I just keep going back to the fact that you have to balance that with this general complaint people make about the cost of records,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So because I think there's different, like what Jason was saying earlier or alluding to, is that there's different kinds of buyers, right? There's the hardcore collectors that are looking for certain things, so they're willing to pay up for if they find that specific thing. But I think the general public is not like that. You know, the general public, you know, I told this story probably last stream or something. I don't know. I probably shared it a million times, but at the record convention, there was this like sort of middle-aged lady. She was thumbing through this guy's records, and she comes across a 12-inch of Prince's Purple Rain. I know she's a casual fan. She sees the record. She's not going to pay more than like $5 or $10 for it. But the seller was like, "Oh no, you know, that's an expensive record. It's, I don't know, he made up some number like $50 or $60 or something ridiculous." And I was like, read the room, guy. Like, this lady is not paying that much money for this record. She's a casual fan, you know? So in that case, to her, that record's a $10 record, you know? Or you can sit on it and wait for someone, you know, who really wants that particular variant of that single and wants to pay $50 for it.
Especially at a record fair, because you're attracting some people that want bargains. At a record store, whether it's an amoeba, whether it's, you know, a mom and pop, people come in with the idea they're like, I am at an establishment, like I can't, well, most people aren't going to try to bargain for records in places like that. They're like, oh, here's a new copy of Purple Rain for $30. Okay, it's $30, and they can see that it's new and it's sealed, and there's not necessarily an argument behind that. At a thrift store, or I'm sorry, at a record fair, that's a different sort of situation.
Yeah,
it's true. I liked Brian's point there also, by the way, about paying record stores paying way up to keep the reputation that, hey, this is a place to bring your records. You're going to get the best deal. I think Lance at Permanent is a great example of that. He's constantly touting that he's paying top dollar for used collections, and by all accounts, I think he is. That's just furthering you need to have that inventory. You need to have that pipeline of product coming in all the time, because who knows? We don't really know how much records are going to be available throughout the course of the next 3 to 5 years. In theory, it'll just be the same way, but you know, I think you have to always operate from that sort of like, you know, scarcity aspect, especially if you're in business. So I get that.
You know, Dom, heads up. I've known Lance for a while, like see him at shows since the 2000s. Yeah. He's not paying top dollar for any of that stuff at the show. So heads up.
Okay, I can speak from a little bit of experience. When I was offering 50% off, he jumped on a bunch of stuff. But when I told him I wasn't going to do that anymore, if it was like closer to 75 or 80, you know, now they don't look at my boxes anymore. So, but you can't really blame them. But to Groove Seeker, you mentioned earlier, you know, like a store paying $8 for a $40 record. That's also not happening. That's way lower than I think a store would pay.
Yeah. I think as a seller, as someone bringing your records to a store, you want to get what, 30-40%, hopefully.
Yeah. I think it's closer to that. Depends on how, like a highly desirable one, they're probably going up to like 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just throwing out numbers, but I hear you. That's what the mystery is to me, is like, what are and you're right. This is variable, just like the median price is variable on condition and scarcity and all of that. Also, I think record stores don't really buy wholesale collections like they used to. I think they pick, right? You bring in 50 records. The average person who finds their dad's records in their garage and brings them to the local record store, they're going to take 5 or 10 of them. The rest are going to be not something they want. So that's also probably another thing. They're seeking out higher end resellable stuff and maybe paying more for it. I mean, Dom Jerosa, primo stuff all the time for the most part, right? When they get collections in and news, and they're pricey, right? And they're not easy to wheel and deal with, even though I love them. But maybe it would be interesting to get a perspective like that, like how they view things.
I mean, I give you a perspective of the store here that I no longer work there, but I know how he buys, and he's the only shop in town, so he's got that advantage. Not traveling quite as much as he used to, but still will. But it's really taking in records wherever you can. He operates from that mindset of a scarcity too. Doesn't like to pass on stuff unless he has to. Less. I'd say these days more comes to him though. I would say.
I also feel like this is the other thing too. I think we'd be hard pressed if one of us were going to sell our collection wholesale that we're going to a store to do it, right? Unless we're in a pinch, right? Because we know that we're not going to get the right value.
I would just open up my own store for a month.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a whole strategy to selling. I've done a lot of selling to stores over the years, and I can tell you one thing you want to do is you don't want to take in a bunch. Don't take in a whole box full of records, because they're going to average it out and you'll get less. Take in a few at a time,
Yes,
and definitely like if you can kind of go to the right places, right? Like if I'm going to try to sell a punk record or something, I'll go to End of an Ear. If you're going to do a jazz or a soul record, I'll go to Breakaway. Pick the place where you're going to go and sell it at. But it was at the same time, it's a tough thing because stores also have to do a lot of educating to collectors on how much they can reasonably get for their records, because you're obviously going to get the most if you sell them yourself. But people think, like I'm going to be able to sell my collection for whatever the median is on Discogs. And that's not true, right? Because Discogs takes 9%. You got your PayPal taking the 3%, and then you got to do the competition thing. So you got to see how many copies are for sale of whatever that thing is, and whatever the condition is. It's a lot of work. It's a time that you're spending doing all of that, and it's like, how much is that worth to you? You know what I mean? For a few extra bucks.
For the most part, when I sell on Discogs, I sell to move, so I'm way below. I'm usually right at the lowest price point, unless it's ridiculous, or right now I'm not looking at the median. I'm going into like what's available, what condition is it in. I want to get rid of this. Like I'm willing to eat that quote unquote loss based upon the market, and move it out. So I agree with that. You have to factor in all these things that people don't consider. Every time I get an eBay pad, I'm like, I sold a record for $60, and it's like, $42.50. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it's killer.
I misled myself. Like, damn.
So Chris, you don't care about like, I paid 30 for this, I can't sell this for 35, because it really depends, right?
That's a good question. It's like, would I rather sell this for $5 less, or would I rather less than I paid for it, or would I rather just keep it on my shelf and like something like that, just like keep, right? Unless I know it's a dead end and it's just not ever going to go up in value. And this is probably I think we're at the height of the market in a lot of stuff, especially the stuff I own. So it's like, what? I just eat it. And I look at it as like I leased it. I got to have it for, 4 or 5 years, and I spent, $15 on listening to it. Like, all right, I'm in the game. This is
that's true. That's true.
That's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
The other recommendation I would give to people is create a relationship with your local record store. I would always prefer people sell to a record store than try to sell it themselves online. Just because there's a lot of competition selling online. But if you create a relationship with your local store, they'll give you a better price because, there's like a relationship there. They know you're buying from them, so I think you'll get a better price that way as well.
That's definitely true. Try to be reasonable with the guy buying, whoever's buying the records from you, because there's a lot of factors you're not considering when you're selling. And try to bring stuff they can actually use. Like, Just because some Elvis record you had sold for $15 10 years ago doesn't mean they have any use for that.
What?
Be reasonable.
I thought all
Elvis and
Beatles
blue
Elvis,
vinyl.
Yeah, I thought everything was all worth it, man. What the?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look this up on Discogs now. This is.
Yeah.
Come on. Should be $100 for Moody Blue Elvis, blue vinyl. Come on.
I mean, we'll have these people, like, I could think of one person that would bring in all this like obscure private press stuff that looks weird or interesting. You've never seen it before, and they kind of think there's a value to it because it's scant and it's privately pressed. And the fact is, no one cares. They only care about a very small percentage of those private press records, just because it's weird or looks weird. That has no value to most stores. I mean, maybe as bin filler to be like, "Ooh, look at this like weird Christian record," but yeah, you have to bring stuff that you think these guys will actually could use this and they'll sell this.
Dom, when you were in that store, were you guys giving more for store credit, or was it the same value? You were giving more, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was like $40 cash or $50 credit, something like that. Whatever, I forget what the percentage breakdown would be. It would be kind of on feel a lot of the time too.
Yeah, most stores that I know do the same thing. They'll give you more on credit.
Yeah, definitely.
And 99% of the time they take the credit, right? Because that's what they wanted anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends. I've seen a fair share of sad situations where people are just have to sell for personal issues or for drugs. I've seen that quite a bit, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, drugs.
Yeah, and some of them not coming back.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, that's not a funny matter.
I only bring that up just to say, like, you see all kinds, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is an economy, right? So if you got to read I guess the buyer of that store reads the room too, right? If you have a kid come in who doesn't know what he has, let's not assume it's some kind of rare box. It's just your run of the mill stuff. You can't tell me you're not giving that kid less than like somebody knows the game, right? Like there's opportunity there for the buyer and the reseller in that situation. When a kid wants to just get rid of his dad's old records, and you're like, all right, I'm not going to overpay this kid. I'm never going to see $1 from him in the future if he's getting rid of these records now.
Well, you try to make him happy. You want to see him like excited that, oh wow, you're going to give me $100 for all those, and so that hopefully he'll tell somebody like, hey, they gave me $100 for this. And even though maybe it was worth more, as long as that person leaves the store happy, I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for stores to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the intrinsic median value is happiness, right?
Yeah.
That goes back to your point about what people are willing to pay and accept.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Joel? Sorry, bud.
Oh no, I was just I don't even remember what I was going to say, but yeah, I don't even remember anymore. All I want to do is complain about Alliance. I'm waiting somehow to where we can like shoehorn me bitching and moaning about Alliance.
I have quite an experience with Alliance myself, not as my own account holder, but just from being at that store. So yeah, it's a means to an end, I guess, is the best I can say for it.
What, Alliance is the means to an end?
For some stores, it's their best bet for getting certain things.
Alliance is going to bury stores, is what they're going to do. They're going to bury them.
I mean, they already are,
Yeah,
you have to be careful. That was what I would say.
Yeah, and actually, they're on Discogs, so it kind of is germane to this discussion.
Yeah, what's their account called?
They're actually skewing the median price down from a lot of things where they shouldn't be, and I don't have a good example for that, but they are doing it.
What's the name of their retail? What's it again?
They have a few. Well, CC Music is the big one, but they have a couple of them in there.
Yeah.
So Rojas, when you bring a couple boxes of heat to WFMU in the fall, how are you gonna determine pricing on your records?
Are you selling at a table?
Yeah, I think that's gonna go there. We have an open tape. I don't know if Dom, did we talk to you about that? Maybe?
No, I had the same sort of fantasy in my head. Not even a fantasy, because that fantasy could come true if you're willing. Sold their 15 years ago, and
15, really?
yeah, I didn't know as much then, but I did. And I did okay, but I just realized like it would be an opportune time to move some things. So, but I really like going there just to be relaxed and just have fun. So
Yes.
maybe.
All right. Stay on afterwards. We'll talk more. But to answer the Groove Seeker, right? You got to bring that heat, right? Because it's I hate to say it's New York, right? So, I guess I'd be willing to part with a few things, And when you show that heat in the wall, like that's the whole thing. You got to bring it, right? So if I'm gonna go play against Travis at Human Head, then I got to make sure those Os Mutantes extra copies I got are on that wall to be like, yo, step up, bro, right? And then basically he'll take me in the back and strangle me for bringing such hot records,
They'll buy them from you to resell at a higher price.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, that's the thing. And I'm pretty sure a couple other people that I know are going to be pissed off. But, yeah. How I price them? Well, it's depending on the condition, right? And I'm not going to use just Discogs. I will use my Pop Psych account to verify,
No grip
the
sweat.
medium price. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Same
Why
thing.
not?
Same thing.
Yes. But I've had the Pop Psych since, I think, when did they start? Like 2000s or something?
Yeah, a long time. You could tell by that site too. Definitely.
What do they use? Are they common eBay sales, or what are they using?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just eBay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it doesn't get into like auction houses the Japanese market. There's a whole other sort of bunch of auction craziness going on over there, which Brian could probably talk about. But
and no one's no. I don't know if you can do this. You can't look at any pricing history on Whatnot, can you? Because that's been like the wild. That's like the Wild West.
That's just the Wild West.
Yeah.
Shit show. But yes,
I've seen some really cool stuff on there, but I just don't have any reference of pricing.
Yeah, you need to find a really good someone who's selling really good stuff that's not that many people watching, right? That's the honey hole, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with like the Whatnot is like when the initial fanboys after the first hour sort of get exhausted, that's the time to pounce. That's what I've learned, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone sort of gets on the feeding frenzy at the first round, but by an hour and a half, everyone's tired or, bitching like, when are you going to put that Gandalf on? Like, look, dude. like, or why aren't you showing any jazz? Well, jazz night's on Wednesday, right? Do you see where this is going? Right.
I did one sale on Whatnot, and oh boy, it was rough. It's hard. I will say that. That was the only time I did one. I did okay. I made as much as I wanted to, but it was taxing. I'll say that.
What was taxing about it?
Just constantly putting stuff up for auction, and just the way the site works, and having to do it on my phone. Like I didn't have a tablet going at the time. I just made it happen for that one night. And I felt exhausted.
Yeah.
I felt exhausted. It was all right, though. It was okay. I don't know that I'd do it again. You definitely give stuff away. At some things I did, it was like, oh, that was good. And then other things like, why did I sell that for $3?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you'll get a couple of those for sure.
That's why it's got to be really special for me to auction on eBay. Usually I just leave it at buy now, and I'll just let it sit.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year, the Whatnot folks were like going around the Awesome Record Convention trying to talk people into signing up on their site. So I'm a little familiar with it, but I haven't sold on there yet. They keep trying to talk me into doing it, but I've watched some of the auctions. It's crazy. So I have watched Mike's one that he does a couple of times. And I'll have like the Whatnot window open over here, and I have actually had Discogs open over here, and I'll just see the things he's selling and what they sell for, and I'll go look on Discogs and see how much people are overpaying.
They have some kind of magic.
All I gotta say is he's got it made, man. Like he is getting people to pay some premium prices for some of that stuff.
Dylan, too.
Good for him.
it's like some kind of hocus pocus they got. I don't understand it. It's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's the branding. They've established brands for themselves.
yeah.
Yes.
But I just don't understand how you would throw out some of these bids and not be like cross-referencing, like, wait a minute, I'm overpaying by like 60%. Like, it's
That's
it's
what I
Well,
mean.
it's like it's the
You
heat
don't
of the
know discount.
moment. You see what I'm saying? Like you get excited, and yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that whole auction thing. You get that FOMO. Like, I can't lose this. I don't want to lose. You know?
Whew. I didn't have anyone overpaying that bad, I'll tell you that much. But
Yeah. I've seen some other ones where the auctioneer, the person running the stream, is like begging people to bid. Like, look, this album's so good, you have to bid now, and like attacking them. And that's just some of the record ones. I've seen some of the other ones where they're selling shoes and stuff, and they're like berating the people in chat for not bidding enough. It's crazy.
ultimately, I just can't be like that desperate of a seller. I just can't do it. Willie Loman style. I just can't.
Yeah.
I'll try. It just doesn't come off very genuine. I don't know. Yeah, Alex has got it 350%.
I mean, he had some relatively, I don't know if I'd say they were common, but they definitely weren't rare, and people were just paying insane numbers. You know, and of course, I know it's not. I'm not going to say. Never mind.
No,
Well, you
go
said
ahead,
it
say it.
no,
Yeah,
come on,
what are you
Joel.
doing?
No, like
Joel.
I had to show restraint because I'm like, I just care about the music and I want to help people. And I was going to tell people like, hey, I almost typed in chat like, hey, just FYI, you can go to Discogs or eBay or whatever and just, see if you can get that record someplace else. But then I felt like, no, I'm not. That'd be kind of rude or whatever. But I just hope that people know about it. At least just. I don't want to see people being taken advantage of because of like a cult of personality type of thing.
Do they charge tax? You get charged tax on whatnot?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I imagine you do.
You do? I was going to say maybe that's one saving grace, but if not, yeah, I would think they'd probably be charging tax anyway.
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean, it's brilliant in a way just to have it feel like the FOMO thing is at a high rate, and as a buyer, you're just like, oh, you win, it gets deducted, like the seller gets paid. It's like it's all streamlined. It's a brilliant idea for whatnot, I guess.
I would think the shipping logistics are probably good too for the seller, right? It's pretty seamless.
Yeah, they make that all easy.
I mean, Joel, you're basically describing is what is like going to a record store with Rojas. Like, what? You're going to pay that for that? It's like, oh, I guess not now. All right.
Which doesn't go very well, right? Nobody listens to me,
So then you put it back and then Jason grabs it. Is that the move?
No.
Twice.
Sneaky. I think you tried with me in New York, I think, if I remember
No way,
correctly.
no. I told you and Alex there was a copy of
I know. Yep.
that E2 record for $40, and then I spent too much time talking with Alex. So Alex, if you're watching, right, I'm gonna put the blame on you, right?
Wasn't there like a big tear across it or something like that?
Yeah, but I like went back there and I go, "Where's the E2, E4?" And then he's like, "Sold that after you put it back." I was just like, "Whoa." It was $40. Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Like, should have just bought it. Well, what's wrong with me?
Snooze, you lose.
Is this whatnot or this eBay venue the last place or the final frontier for snagging deals? Are you guys still finding the same amount of steals in stores like you used to?
On eBay and Discogs?
Yeah, I know, Dom, you did a great video a few months ago on kind of doing like a reference back to what you paid. And
that was old though. So that was pre-pandemic, a lot of that stuff. And if you look at it that way, I'm sure everyone here like bought stuff at like significantly reduced prices to where it's at now. Every now and then, sometimes it's just such an obscure title that I might be looking for. Like all of a sudden it'll come up for someone who's just like, even though they see what it's worth, technically, they're just like, whatever, I don't know who's going to want this. And you can get lucky with those types of things, but it's pretty few and far between. I'd say eBay more often than not, you're finding stuff here and there for the right price. But again, it's
That's
usually
like-
so niche.
Yeah, and eBay has the uneducated seller. Discogs knows what the hell they're doing. Like if
Yeah.
you're selling on Discogs,
Yes.
you pretty much know what you have.
Like those eBay sellers that are like, pickers or like storage locker people or selling like, tattered prints and shoes and then a few records. Like they're not using eBay completed sales, maybe they are, but they're just like, I don't care. Like, let's just get this up and get $30 for this fucking Gandalf record. Let's just do it. Bad example, but you get it.
You should have seen that one that sold on Whatnot at Dylan's auction. I was a bit.
I didn't see that. What did he get for it? $3,000?
No, about half that. Half.
Still, that's
And that was like an argument with a friend of mine. I was like, that's not worth, $1,500. That
No.
record is not,
no. It's pretty common is the thing. You see it quite a bit.
I kind of agree with the statement in chat. I don't think everyone on Discogs knows what they have. I just think Discogs is really good about telling you the prices. So I think like you could go in there and sell things on Discogs without having any clue what it is, and you'll come up with a price close to like what is showing up.
Well, okay, so let me. Your guys are right. There obviously are deals to be had, but the random person like Dom was describing that is picking lockers or whatever, and they have some random record, like they're not going to Discogs to sell a one-off unless they've established like some kind of Discogs point of sale there over time. Like usually that's going on eBay.
But it's true what Joel says. Like Discogs is vetting that for you. It's pricing it for you. Like why would you put something up when you're like, oh, its median price is $75? Like I should let me get 175. Like it's so it's harder. It's hard to make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean the way I find deals is I find the sellers that don't use Discogs at all. They have too many things. They got like hundreds of boxes of records, and they can't possibly look at Discogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar stores you're talking about.
Well, not just even at shows. Like at shows, like we've all done it, right? You go through the tables, you can tell like here are the tables where they're looking at Discogs and they're overpricing everything. I skip by all them and I go to the tables where they're just buying estate sales in mass and they don't really know what they have, and that's where I go, to find the stuff that I want.
Well, they have a different motivation. They probably paid less for all that. They're like, I'm here. Let's just turn and burn as much of this as we can.
Yeah.
I want to walk out. I want to get my table covered. Like it's different from a retail, like a independent store or an indie store that's showing up there with like all kinds of overhead,
Yeah.
So not to change topics here, Greg here, OGCs, welcome. Do we know if the tariffs are being applied to LPs bought from Japan or Europe to the U.S.?
So not yet. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has seen anything. As a store, did get emails from several different distributors telling me that the tariffs will have an effect later. And they even gave me a spreadsheet. One of them gave me a spreadsheet that says like, hey, if you want any of these titles in your store, now's the time to stock up. But I haven't seen any actual prices increase yet. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for all that stuff to work through the system.
That means that WFMU is going to be flooded more than ever with people coming out of the country if that goes into effect, because it's going to be even more of a bargain for them to get on a plane, come over here and do digging. I mean, I'm not talking about dead stock records, obviously. I'm talking about used records, because there's probably going to be, if that would have to apply if you're buying off eBay or buying off Discogs, some kind of tariff on that good coming in.
That's a joke that I made with a couple of the sellers at Austin. I didn't tell Joel, or maybe I did, right? There was some guys like trying to sell records, and then I said, well, did you factor in the tariffs into your pricing? They both looked at each other, looked at me, right? I was like, you need to tell them that, the tariff sale is going on at this table right now,
How did that go over?
Not well. As
I'm
everyone
sure
knows,
you heard about what Amazon's doing.
No. What
No.
is Amazon? Oh, the one where they're putting the pricing.
Well, they claimed they were going to put how much the price was increased because of the tariffs on their items. I'm not sure how they're going to determine that exactly, but they said that.
I mean, it's not. It's just like listing tax. It's just another tax. It's like when you get a receipt. I mean, I don't see that as a bad thing.
Are you seeing some seller? I think European sellers Discogs are showing no VAT or no VAT now, right?
Yes.
That's like a new little icon. I think when you're looking through a European seller, for instance, I believe.
So what does that mean, Dom? Is there a benefit for that?
I guess it's just sort of showing you that you're not paying that, I guess. I'm trying to remember if I saw that correctly. I've been seeing it somewhere.
Sean here. That's what I'm saying. That's what I tried to explain to these sellers at Austin, that the tariffs make the prices come down. They were not buying it, so I don't know. I just trying to help here. Man.
Well, who even knows what the state of the tariffs are? Because it's like, we're going to do the tariffs. Courts are saying no. I don't even know. It's all just a big, massive amount of chaos. So
once something gets settled, 3 days later, it'll change again.
Yeah.
That's essentially what'll happen. It's all one big negotiation.
Yeah. Alex is right about Sound Dome. That's where I saw that.
What's Sound Dome?
That's a European seller based in Italy.
Okay.
They're a retail store, but they have an interesting model where they you pay a $60 euro subscription fee every year.
Okay.
And for that, you get free shipping from Europe and 10% discount on everything.
Wow. That's amazing.
But you get free shipping at a certain level. But what's cool about it is they keep like a shelf for you. So if you buy something for $30, you opt not to ship. They can ship it to you if you want. They'll charge you for shipping, but you have to get up to 140 euro, and then it ships free. So it's nice because you'll buy something that, like, I don't need it right now. It goes onto your shelf, and then you accumulate orders, and once you hit 140, then it ships for free. And so
they specialize. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
And yeah, it's specialized in sort of the more obscure avant-garde, but not everything. I mean, there's definitely like some frontline indie stuff on it. But I've known about it for many years. I've always used Forced Exposure as a wholesaler. I have a wholesale account with them, so I would buy things from them at times. But I've seen the benefit from Sound Dome. This is like becoming like a Sound Dome, pitch here. But they're getting a lot of other things Forced Exposure isn't, and a lot of times their prices are in line with Forced Exposure at wholesale, which is crazy because Forced Exposure is importing from Europe, and they're in Europe. So it's great if you're looking for a lot of like off the beaten path type stuff. You don't mind waiting to get that threshold of 140 euro. And recently they put up like a vintage krautrock collection. Like they'll every now and then throw up all this crazy original stuff without any announcement. All of a sudden they just put it on their site. And they get certain dead stock and things like that. So it's an interesting site, but you do pay the 60 euro every year as that subscription model. So it is a subscription service, but from a different point of view.
Yeah, but I feel like you make that back pretty quickly if you're buying once a quarter,
Yeah. Yep. Like I've done like 2 or 3 orders this year so far. Maybe 2. And it's just like stuff like once you pay for it, it goes to your shelf and it's guaranteed it's yours. So I'll just like, whenever it's ready to ship, I'll get it,
That is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool idea.
I'm going to check that out.
There's some downsides to it. You should. Alex Diamond Marimba did a video on them a couple of years ago. You should check that out because he brings up all of there's some cons to it that you'll find out if you decide to go down that road.
I'm seeing some cool stuff on their site. I'm completely distracted from the stream, and I'm looking up like.
Yeah, just the main issue becomes like when they actually get it. A lot of times it shows stocking soon, or you might buy something and it's not exactly clear when they're going to get it. There's some stuff with that. You should watch Alex's video, but I've had it mostly be really good and not have many issues with that.
And they got a lot of CDs, and they're making a comeback. So
they do
geez.
CDs. They do.
You had to fit that in. How dare you?
I've been hearing about the CD comeback for years, but I still got like 1,500 CDs upstairs.
Really?
Oh, I'm keeping them. I'm not selling them. Chris is right, man. It's coming.
Yeah, no, I got plenty of CDs too.
No, I play them in the car.
I haven't watched the videos. I'm purposely not clicking on them, but there's not going to be any comeback until you can buy a CD player for cheap in a store.
I'll find Alex's vid. That's why I still have not sold my 2017 Honda, because it still has a drive in it.
So does my Ultima. Yeah,
I'm not selling it, man. They keep trying to get me to trade it in. I'm not doing it.
I do.
This looks like a great state.
I wish they would convince car manufacturers to, at least make CD players an option, and don't build their cars in a way where you can't put an aftermarket one in. That's pretty.
Yeah, right. That's a good point too.
You imagine you're getting standard sedan, and you're paying like $1,200 for like the CD player upgrade.
Man, that site's got some good stuff on it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop looking at it. Okay.
Let's see. Can I post? There's Alex's. Is that public? Can everyone see that?
I can post it.
Yeah, you post
I have
it.
a link.
Yeah.
There we go. Link in the chat.
That's Diamond Marin by Alex. Great channel if you guys don't know.
Very cool. Do we have any other points we want to make about median prices on
Trust Discogs. How dare the three people on this panel badmouth them? Dode is going to be after you. Department of Discogs Efficiency, right?
What would you do if Discogs did away with all of that history? How would you feel about that?
I get back my price guide books, I got a stack of them, man.
I do. I still have them.
We'll add at least like maybe 20% on top, right? That fits.
Wait, hold on. Dom raises a really interesting point. I'm disappointed I didn't look at the inverse. Is Discogs actually controlling the market in a positive way, given the resurgence?
I mean, everyone looks at that, right? Buyers, sellers, that's right where you go to. I mean, the highest price you'll look at too, but median is where my eyes go to.
It depends on what you're talking about. I think Discogs is hurting things when it comes to new records, and they're probably helping a lot when it comes to used records.
How are they hurting things on new?
Well, it's because of the points that I made before. Like it's like a race to the bottom with all the sellers trying to sell new records on Discogs, and everyone's trying to undercut each other. And then of course you have Alliance undercutting everybody entirely. So, like if you're a store, you can't sell new records on Discogs unless it's like a rare new record. Anything like if you try to sell a new Taylor Swift record, you pretty much have a week to try to sell it, and then don't even try after that. Because you're never going to beat Alliance's price without losing money.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing too, because you're not going to stock. You're right. You're not going to sell, I don't know, 20 Taylor Swift records in a week, but you can't also stock 2 of them, because that third person who comes in is going to be like, oh, they never have what I'm looking for, right? So how do stores manage that?
I just think most people don't go to Discogs for new stuff. Like I'll buy an order from Forced Exposure every now and then when there's stuff I'm interested in. I'll get extra copies to sell, and I can't move them. I'll be the lowest price. It doesn't matter. And there's people that say they want it in Discogs. It doesn't matter. I think people, when it comes to buying new records online, they're going to major retailers or the band's sites, individual sites, Bandcamp. I don't think people are mainly looking at Discogs for new stuff. It's like a last resort. It's like, oh, I can't find it anywhere. Can I get? Oh, wait, Discogs has a copy.
Is Discogs effective for flipping in your mind? I know you're just giving an example where it's not, but in general, is it the place to flip if you're going to flip?
I think Instagram is the best place to flip, really. I mean, no fees, direct relationship with people, pictures, pictures of the records.
Okay.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Oh my god.
So I think I want to offer a competing viewpoint on that topic. I obviously I do think that people are going to all those places you mentioned to buy new records, but I do think there's a big enough community of people buying new records on Discogs, and as evidence of that, you can just look at how many ratings CC Music has on there to see how many people are buying things. There's a lot of people. We're all U.S. based here, so I can't really speak for other countries, but there's a lot of people in the U.S. that don't have a record store near them, and I think a lot of them go to Discogs. I would love to see the numbers, but I think Discogs may be the largest marketplace for buying music. So I think there's a lot of people who go there.
Juno, I think Juno is bigger, is it? Or it's up there as well in the UK.
Yeah. So I do think there's a lot of people buying new records, mostly from small towns, places that don't have record stores.
Who's that one Discogs seller that has everything new? Well, there's a few, but there's one that comes to mind. I just can't think of it.
Well, when they do, they're all distributors or record stores that just kind of do distribution on the side. Like the big ones there's Red Scroll.
Yeah,
there's and there's the various Alliance ones.
Something with
and there's another one based out of California, but I can't remember their name right now.
There's one in Ohio is what I'm trying to think of. I'll probably find it, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But that's true, because I guess as someone who was like, I want to buy like these 5 new like top line indie or pop releases, like maybe they don't want to go to Amazon, and maybe Amazon doesn't have some of those like sort of lesser, maybe slightly lesser known things. You might be able to get all that stuff at some of those stores. That's true.
Yeah.
Question for Joel here. Can Joel promote his record shop?
I can. Probably now's not the best time. I got some stuff to sort out, but it's Static ATX. You can find us online.
Oh, yeah, Slut Bunny. That's the one.
Oh, yeah, Slut Bunny.
I knew
that person is so funny. Somebody got... Slut Bunny banned somebody or blocked somebody on Discogs. So they posted on the forum saying, "Hey, why did Slut Bunny block me?" And then for like 3 days, there's like a totally off subject conversation going on. And the whole time I know Slut Bunny's reading it, And then finally Slut Bunny responds with some like unrelated thing. And we're all like, "Hey, Slut Bunny, why'd you block the guy?" And he's like, "I have no idea. I don't even know who that is." But I don't know. That was kind of funny.
Is that just online? Do you know, Joel? Is that a store?
I don't know. I think it is. I don't know. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah, I see Slut Bunny every day.
It's it's the Slut Bunny.
Right.
To be
fair. I know I've ordered stuff from Slut Bunny. I should see what's in my history. I know it.
It does suck at not having a local store. I agree with you. We're very very lucky in the Austin area. And I know just Jason and I are in the Austin area, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Red Scroll is huge. I mean, it's so hard to compete with them online.
Have you ever been to their store? Yeah, it's in Connecticut.
It's not even. It's a giant warehouse, man. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've been there a couple of times. I remember
never gone there.
They had the smaller shop. That's where I used to go and get the deals. And then they moved to the warehouse, and I went there, and it was too much at the warehouse. Not as big as some other warehouses I've seen, but it's like basically well curated. I don't want to say curated, but it's well stocked, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
They pop up. I'm pretty sure. Does a guy named Dom own Red Scroll? Is it Dom?
I don't know.
But
I
I'm
do
pretty
not
sure
remember the comment.
they pop up at some of our local record stores, like down where I'm in New York, because I'm not far from Connecticut. Oh, Jake and Drew. Okay. Yeah, I've seen they're in Wallingford, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of a stretch to get there, but I don't know if that there's an excellent Filipino restaurant in Wallingford. Just I don't know. You guys didn't know that, right? But I do.
That's like old FYE territory, isn't it, Chris? Wallingford.
Yeah. That's why I know Wallingford, because one of my good friends was from that area, so I've been up there a bit. But yeah, old FYE territory for sure.
Speaking of media, well, what do you guys feel about going into a store or at a record fair, but usually a store, and they price you right on the spot, unpriced record, and they go ahead and put it up on Discogs? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm out.
I'm
I'm
out.
out. I won't unless I won't actually.
That's bad.
It has to be so special for me to find something unpriced to ask, because I see that as a red flag. I'm like, if this isn't one flat rate, like I'm out of here.
We've had this thing where we'll let some people who we trust go through stuff that hasn't been processed yet, and that's a different story. It's like
That's different.
Yeah, like we got to look that up. So you're not just gonna pay $20 for that.
But that's a relationship thing, right?
Yeah,
like they know and you know, and that's a return person. But
I remember
I hate that.
One of the times I was out in Seattle. This had to be 20 years ago. There was, I don't know if the store exists, but it was massive, and it had shelving all the way up to the ceiling. And I was like a kid in a candy store, and I pulled out one record, this Del Shannon record, and I was like, I want this Del Shannon record. I can't find it. It was pre-Discogs. And I brought it up to the counter. I'm like, oh, they're going to give it to me for like nothing. And they pulled out a price guide.
Oh,
Just like, and they looked it up, and they wanted like $25 for it. And I was like, I'm out.
It's like literally the worst experience ever. I was in Vegas, and I wanted to go around to all the record stores, and I went in this record store. The place was completely packed. Like every inch of the store had stuff, and they had all these tightly packed rows of 7 inches. And I started thumbing through them, and I found a couple of things, and then of course nothing's priced. I go up and ask the guy, hey, I'm interested in getting these. What do you got? And then he proceeds to spend like an hour, like painstakingly looking them up all on Discogs. And then he gives me some ridiculous price that there's no way. I mean, they were like old punk 7 inches. And I was thinking like $10-15. But no, he's all like, oh, this one's like 100. This one. And I was like, get out of here, dude. I immediately left. There's also a seller at the convention, and I don't know, Jason, if you're setting me up to complain about this guy again, but he also doesn't price anything. He's got amazing records, but he doesn't price them. And he hasn't asked me, but if he ever did, why I don't shop with him anymore, I would tell him, you price your records and you'll have a customer again. Until you do, I'm not even going to look.
no, Joe, you're saying it wrong. You got to be like, because I hate you. Well,
Joe, I do. He is my nemesis. I do not like him at all because he mistreats his records and he doesn't price them. And if he's watching this video, you know who I'm talking about. You know who you are. Spend a couple minutes or whatever and put a price sticker on your fucking records, man.
Yeah, don't be a fascist.
Well, it's just like just like basic level of like retail. Like you put a price on your item of anything.
And it's one thing if he wasn't overpriced. That's why I wanted to price him so that when he overvalues something, I can be like, cool, and I won't even bother him with it. But he makes me give it to him so he can make up his overprice number. It's like I'm trying to save you time, man. I'm trying to save you time.
So actually, Tim, welcome, University Vinyl. He actually knows the dealer. Do you see this comment, Joel?
Oh, wait, what? Put it up. There's a notorious... That is the guy. He's from LA. That is the guy. Everybody, listen, I'm going to make a call to the internet. If you know this guy, I don't know his name, but he is out of LA. He's got a lot of really cool, exactly what this guy is saying in chat. If you see this guy, call him out. Tell him to start pricing his records or fix whatever system he has on how he's pricing records. Call him out. Let's berate him until he fixes it.
He doesn't want to sell them. He just likes that thrill of pissing people off.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
He's Jack Black in High Fidelity when he wants to sell the Beefheart record. He's like, let me see how much it is.
Okay. Now they're bringing up bills. Go back to that. So here's the thing.
Right.
Bill is different. Well, first of all, rest in peace, Bill. You know, Bill's is different than the LA guy. Okay. Yes, Bill didn't price anything. And yes, Bill would make up a number. But if you were nice to Bill, Bill would give you a good deal. Whereas this guy won't. So. But I do rip Bill. I do. Which, by the way, Josie Records in Dallas got all of Bill's old stock. So if Bill ever had anything that was too high priced for you, go check out Josie Records. You know, they'll give you a deal on it.
Josie, okay.
No.
This is a good question. Ever had somebody give you such a good deal that you felt obliged to offer them more?
Yeah, I've done that.
You've done that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because they gave me a deal. They just didn't know what they had, and they were pricing it way low. And I just told them, dude, like, I would feel guilty if I paid you that. Like, this is actually, and I'm not talking, it wasn't something ridiculous. Like, they'd want to sell me something for $10, but it's more like a $50 record. I would tell them, like, hey, you know, this is not a $10 record, man.
That's like that part in High Fidelity was an outtake, but if you read the book or watched the DVD with the bonus, when he goes to buy that Punk collection and he can't do it.
Yeah, he's like,
no. So in that situation, in that movie, I would have taken it. Listen, if that's a marriage problem, I don't have to get in the middle of that. I'll take those records.
That's like when I bartended. I say I don't solve domestic disputes. Like I'm here to say. Yeah. Joel's right.
And listen, his table is always a mess. Always a mess. He crams his records in there. None of them are sleeved. They're already kind of beat up a little bit, and he just crams them in that crate, you know. And okay, I'm going to tell this story real quick. Is it okay if I tell the story?
Of course.
It'll be quick.
Rolling.
So the first time I go to the convention, I'm thinking they're not going to have anything that I want. I thought it was just going to be a bunch of Beatles records and stuff. So, but I walk by this guy's table, and this guy's table is incredible. I mean, every artist that I could ever dream of, he had all of it. So I start picking stuff out. I end up picking out literally a crate's worth of records. It was actually a little bit more, and I give it to him. And of course nothing's priced. So it's like, here, I'm thinking about getting these. Go ahead and come up with the price, and I'll be right back. And I leave. I come back 2 hours later. He still does not have a number for me. And I say, well, because I asked him, what do you got? What's the number? Well, why don't you come around on the other side of the table? Okay. And then he starts taking the records and tossing them on the floor. Like, here's a $50 pile. Here's a $20 pile. Here's the $100 pile. And he's just flipping them on the floor. And I wanted to tell him right then, I was like, dude, I'm going to buy these. Can you stop throwing them on the floor? Like, what the hell, man? Like, these are rare records, and you're just like flippantly just toss them on a dirty ass floor. So anyway, he puts them all out there, and I was like, okay, I think I don't even think I pulled anything out. I was like, okay, give me a total. So he comes up with a total, and then he says, okay, and then I'm going to give you 15% off of whatever the number was. And I spent like almost $2,000 with him. It was a lot of money. So then I get home later on, and then I take the time to clean them and re-sleeve them, all that kind of stuff, put them in Discogs, and I paid just over the maximum amount, like the high number on Discogs for everything, because I put them all in a folder. And it was at that point, and they weren't all in good condition either. All the records were playable, but the covers, of course, were dinged up because he just crams them in those crates. But that's when I learned my lesson. And I think that LA seller, a lot of people tell me that same sort of deal with him, where sometimes they buy one time and then that's it because of that. Now, and he must not care, because I'm sure someone's told him.
Did you think when you were going through those, you were like, oh man, this is going to be $1, this is going to be $2, $3, or did you
No, because I knew the stuff was rare. Yeah. The stuff that I like, and the stuff that he has, it's relatively common in Europe, or maybe not common, but you can find them in Europe. You just can't find them in the U.S. Like, nobody has them. So I know I was going to pay a premium, but he's the guy when One time he had a copy, an original copy of Annie Lennox's Diva, which I know that's kind of an expensive record. It's not crazy, but it's not a cheap record. But I'll say like, hey, what do you got on this? Not because I'm going to buy it, just because I want to see him do his thing. Where he's like, oh, whoo, that's an expensive one. That one's $200. And one time he made me guess. He's like, guess. Why don't you take a guess as to what the price is? And I'm guessing reasonable number. He's like, nope, higher. And then he says some ridiculous number, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like good luck, man.
Sounds like a nightmare.
He is a fucking nightmare. I hate that guy.
Joel, did you go to his booth this past weekend? Did you?
No, I didn't. I'm not. I told you, I'm not looking at his stuff anymore.
Maybe you got to think differently. Try to buddy up with this guy and try to maybe no one's ever tried to bridge the gap and be like.
He needs a VC hug.
Yeah.
You want to come? Listen, I will fly you out to Austin next time if you will go and try to bridge the gap with him.
I'll try. I've been known
because I just want to choke him. I'm not. It ain't gonna be me.
I can imagine Dom like, hey, going to that guy. Do you need a friend? That dude's just gonna be like walking away, Dom. Like,
come on! I love hugs. Give me a hug, buddy. Let me see that.
Okay. Okay, listen, I'm going to be a little fair. Okay, the second time I went to see him, I did pick out some stuff, and I had this MC 900 for Jesus 12-inch, and he told me, I'm just going to, if you buy, I'll just give this one to you for free. And I was like, oh, that's so generous, man. It's like a $10 record. They're like, so generous. You're going to give me this $10 record for free. Anyway, I turned him down on the rest of the stuff, and he did say, well, I did tell you I was going to give you that record for free. So even though you're not buying anything, you can go and take it. But I didn't take it.
You got one over on him.
I didn't take it though.
He sounds like someone said a peach. I think Rev said that peach. I want to talk to this guy.
I just want him. Could be the Shrek of the record show guys. He's a little donkey.
There's a lot of Shrek dealers. I think I've seen some Shreks.
Yeah, these just don't pop up anymore. And listen, and part of it's true, right? It is true that he's the only one at the convention that has the record. There's no one from the U.S. selling them on Discogs. These things are true, but that doesn't give him carte blanche to gouge people. I told him, he had a record I pay $40 for, but then he wants $120 for it. And I'm just like, you're insane, dude. Not only do I not think that I'm going to buy it, I don't think anyone's going to buy it. But listen, he's been doing this a lot longer than me, so obviously it's working for him.
I guess he only needs to sell a fraction of records to make it worth his while, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, he's how many tables did he have, Joel? What, 4?
He has 4. Tables? He always has 4.
And you said the tables this year were what?
They're 8 feet.
No. How much were the tables?
Oh, they're 160. But here's the thing. I'm not trying to start rumors or anything, so don't take this with a grain of salt. He's been doing that record show for a long time. I know he's buddy with the guys that run it. He may be getting a different deal than everybody else. I don't know for a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, the tables were 160, I think, like that.
So then he'd have to sell,
That's how much Austin is, 160?
I want to say they were 160. Let me look again. I think they were 160.
No,
they were 190. They were 190.
What is FMU?
You get a deal?
400 or something?
Yeah. WFMU is 475.
Ouch.
It's New York, baby.
Yeah, I know.
All he has to do, if he would just treat the records with some respect, he's got, you can't tell me in one breath that I have these records that are rare and don't pop up all the time. And yet I didn't put them in a nice sleeve. I'm cramming them, so packed in that they're just getting damaged. And then I'm just going to toss them on the floor. You can't be, it just logically makes no sense.
Maybe he's figuring if you see crazy prices, you're not even going to look. If you see no prices, you'll look. Well, maybe you get in, and then you're in.
Well, Dom, this is funny. I think Joel, this was the first year he had a display.
Oh no, I think he's had a little bit of a wall before. That display though that he had that little rack thing. I don't think I've seen him have that before.
So he had
But
this display dom, and like I'm like, cool. There's a Cult Love, that record was up there, and I'm like, that's probably UK. And I was like, I'm gonna go and ask, how much he wants it. Then I saw the guy, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have time for this guy right now. I just like walked away. It's like, nope, it's him.
Well, especially at a record fair. I mean, you can spend your time in a lot of different places. You don't want to waste time.
Yeah. I mean, it was
that's the other
him,
thing. That first year I went, he was literally I think there was maybe one or two sellers that had that kind of music that he had. But this year there was like 5 or 6, myself included. So, like that's the good thing, right? Now I don't need his table because there's other people that have good stuff.
That's hilarious.
Square payment dongle on his phone is thrashed.
I mean, you can get those like that's not something you need to like hold on to. He's cheap. That's what it is. He's cheap. He didn't even have to pay for the square dongle, and he's cheap.
But the thing is, he's fit all those records, in that plastic bin. Joel's neglecting you to tell, he's forgetting to tell you that, like, it's all packed and like you're trying to, so you have to remove a couple, right?
Oh yeah, you are not flipping through his things. And here's the other thing: there are these plastic bins that are angled on the side, so they damage the records, man. It's not good, man.
This is good in the reverse way. I just want to check. I'm intrigued now.
But so the person that said about how much money you're going to pay for a table, I will say that the Awesome Record Convention is worth it for the amount of people that show up and the willingness of the people that show up to spend money. I made an insane amount of money this year. A lot of sellers did, so it's worth it. And it's a lot of fun. Who cares about money? I don't do this for money. All the conversations that I had with people, the people that I met, it's like, it feels like home. You go there and you see all the people that you saw past years, and people are coming up to you and they're like, "Hey, I came to your table last time." That it's just an experience and it's fun.
I love the record. I love WFMU. I'm seeing people I haven't seen in years just from when I lived there, and like it just feels like I just talked to them yesterday. Like it just feels like a timeless thing. So it is a good experience whether you're there to sell or buy.
Yeah.
That guy, he really hits your buttons, Joel. Seriously.
It's just, if he didn't have really cool records, I wouldn't care, right? If he has a bunch of dollar records, it's like, who cares what he's doing? But he does have legitimately rare records. And
what kind of stuff does he have? Is it just all over the place, or is it?
It's a lot of like 80s, 90s. Oh, go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
Yeah, like 80s, 90s, 2000s. So, Dom, here's an example. He had that later ABC record, the one after, I don't know if you're into them, but he had, I think it was called Abacadabra. Like that's...
Don't know it, but okay.
I think that one was like maybe 92, 93 maybe. You don't see that. That was like at the tail end of vinyl. Like he had it. He would not go down on price. I had to swallow my pride and pay this.
You gave him money?
That's like the only time I've ever like.
Oh, I don't know if I can talk to you anymore, man.
Oh,
you're supporting the enemy.
So he was buying the stuff or getting the stuff then, and he's just sort of held on to it. He hoarded that stuff then, I guess.
Possibly, or he's buying collections.
What I think it is, and I can't remember where I heard this. It may have been from him. I think he has a buddy in Europe, and they kind of trade. They, like he gets stuff here and he sends it over there. European guy sends them over here. Because like I said, the stuff he has, you can find in Europe. He's got a lot of like rare goth industrial synth pop stuff, things that just, he's got like Me Be Manifesto, Skinny Puppy, stuff like that.
No crusty 60s stuff, huh?
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I feel like I remember. I think I watched that. I think I saw that.
She bitched about him? Wow. Dang, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, like Mark is saying, I'm not. There was a time I was buying a little bit more of that stuff. I'm not there currently, so maybe that's a good thing with this guy. But I'll still give him a hug.
I mean, here's the thing though, like he literally has a reputation. Like you just mention a little thing about him and instantly a lot of people know exactly who you're talking about. That's really bad, right? To me, that's like a problem. Like if I'm that guy, he has to know that people say these things about him, you know?
I haven't heard
And he obviously doesn't care to change.
I haven't heard this much, like, frustration or vitriol around a guy since like the hot stamper guy. What was the name of the hot stamper guy?
Tom Port.
Port. I haven't heard that name in a while.
I knew about him in the 90s. So I don't know if you did. That's what I heard about him.
I remember aspects of this Tom Port, yes. But I wasn't really interested in that kind of thing at that point. So
I mean, actually, like, have you heard like a hot stamper record before?
I mean, have I? I've
From
heard
him?
him. No,
Like,
no,
okay.
no. So maybe you're a hot stamper convert or
Well, it's
prophet.
just like I've had some conversations with the Rev about him, but when I was in LA, I went to visit Vinyl Piper, and then we met up with Jim, Record Collector News. I'll try to make this short story. He played a copy. We went to Jim's place. He played a copy of Pink Floyd Metal. This was the Tom Port hot stamper. FY, if you're listening to us, it's a -5 UK. Just heads up. Heads up. We compared that to a Japanese pressing, and it just totally slayed that Japanese pressing. It was just no competition whatsoever, Very shocking.
Japanese pressings are a lot of time known for not being all that great, right? Or just very quiet or subdued,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, like, the hot stamper, what did that imply? That meant that, like, it was more dynamic, more livelier, right, than the quieter Japanese pressing, right? But he had a couple of other, I think, like Zappa. We never got to it, but next time I come up, definitely we'll do more shootouts.
Bring some hot stampers to New York.
The Rojas hot stamper, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So did we kill this to the Joe, go. Joe.
I was thinking about so he had this Throwing Muses record that I wanted, and he gave me some ridiculous number, and my wife was there that year, and I tried to talk my wife into going over there and ask him what the price was on the same record just so I could compare, but she didn't want to have anything to do with it. So,
Oh,
but
that's
I
good.
could use some people there that could help me do
I
some
love that.
price comparisons.
My wife would do that. She'll do it. We're gonna try that.
I honestly, and I know I'm kind of half joking around about some of this stuff. I don't really hate the guy. It makes me depressed that he has good records and he treats them the way he does. But
He needs a hug.
He does need a hug. I need a hug too, though. But I was kind of curious how much money he makes at the convention to make it worth it for him, because when he was packing up, his bins were all still packed completely full. So I'm not even sure how much he's selling, and I'm just kind of curious.
He must just get off on it. He likes this cat and mouse game. I don't know.
Hey, all of your wives that say they'll do that, send them on down to Austin. Tell them I'll post my table numbers. Tell them to come over there, and we can all just bombard them.
Well, the first problem is getting her to actually want to be at a record fair. Like, that's not for everyone. And she loves records, but being at a record fair is another thing.
Dom, are you going to change your tag to seeking a delegate? I feel like you're making some peace moves.
That's always been my thing. Yeah, that's my sub name. Cleavage. Oh, man.
Jeez.
Yeah.
The hell? Well, I did tell you that story, right? I think I've said the story before when I was selling that Os Mutantes record back in, let me try to think here. It had to be like 2015, 16 at WFMU. I had the first one. I think it was the Argentinian press. And I was selling for $200. So you got to imagine, like, that was kind of expensive at the time, but I think it's what doubled since.
Yeah.
And there was this young, cute chick, as Chase Records is saying, she was breaking out the cleavage, and she just complained to me, like, why can't that Os Mutantes record be $20? And I just remember, like, looking at her, like, I can't believe I'm hearing this. I said, lady, like, I wish it could rain Os Mutante $20 records all day long. We'd all have them. And so she just, like, got mad and left in a huff,
It's called a reissue. Go get yourself a nice Scorpio.
And then, some other guy was, like, kind of, like, walking around the table. Did I tell you this story, Dom? Like, he was, like, hovering, like, stalking the table. And I said, dude, don't do that. Just come up here. And he's like, I really want that Os Mutantes record. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what's your name? And he tells me his name. And I was like, my name is Jason. Okay. And then I'm looking at, okay, now we're friends now. Now give me how much you want it for, right? Because I had 2. And he goes, I got 160. And I said, okay, 160, but when you take this home, to your place and you're with your friends or your partner, you're not going to talk about these other records you bought today. You're going to play this record first, okay? This is the one, And so he gave me the money, and he was super happy, And Travis was pretty pissed off that day. Like, where's that Os Mutantes record? And I just gave him that look, like, I didn't see you at my table, bro,
I had the one funny thing that I just thought of it when I sold at FMU, and I think it was 2008, I'm pretty sure. I was new to selling, but was into records, so I knew what I was doing. But it was my first like big fair. I was selling at the Brooklyn Flea. Mark brought up a little while ago, so I had some experience. But being at the FMU fair is a different thing. The first day when everyone goes crazy, that's overwhelming. But somewhat, I forget it was the first or second day. There used to be this guy. I don't know if you live. Maybe Chris maybe knows this guy, or some people in the chat. He used to sell St. Mark's. He used to sell crates of records out near Astor Place somewhere. I forget where he would set up. And he was older dude, very aggressive, very cantankerous, we'll say, if I remember correctly. And he came up to my table and he aggressively just went through every bin, just pulling out stuff like really like I don't need to be here today. Like, I don't even like, what am I even looking at? This guy's a waste of my time. But nonetheless, he's pulling out all of these rock records I had. And he made a giant pile on the table. And he's like, let me know what you want for those. And he walked away, like super aggressive. And I was like, okay. So I was like, I'd like to sell all these records. So I gave him a pretty fair price. In my mind, I think he came back. I gave him the price, which I don't even remember what it was. He literally knocked them over.
What?
And walked away. I was like,
what a dick.
I was like, wow, this is a piece of work. And then I remember seeing he would still be out at those St. Mark's selling his shit. And that was how he got around. He just, he's tried to lowball me hard. I should have bought it. I should have probably just given it to him. Just take him. You need a hug or you're aggressive and you go back to St. Mark's Place. But that was a lasting impression from that first fair. As certainly being a little green, I'll tell you right now. He probably sensed that I would just give him he would just lowball me and take him. But
yeah,
didn't work out that way.
New York, baby.
Yeah, total New York douche.
Well, I was about to say you had a really good attitude about it, like where you said you were just going to give it to him because he needs a hug, and then you called him a douche. So I don't know.
Well, now that's my feeling. I remember feeling then like pretty pissed off, but yeah. But you'll deal with some of those people. I don't know. Maybe it's not as bad now, but
you get all kinds at the record convention, but overall it's good. You have a few hiccups here and there.
Few hiccups unless you're Raekwon trying to charge $80 for a photo op and autograph. But Jack White,
I don't know, man. You guys were complaining about the $80, but it's Raekwon, man.
Yeah,
you
don't know. You don't know. I bowed out of that critique. That's one of the goats.
It's worth it if you'll pay it, right?
I mean, he also got what he wanted, right? He didn't have a huge crowd, whereas Jack White was probably being hounded because he was doing it for free.
Jeez.
Now, I need an update on this Austin Fair. I haven't heard any recaps yet.
Yeah, we did not do a recap. I mean, I had a lot of fun, Dom. I just like looked for records that were not grails. You know, I was just buying a bunch of 90s records, 2000s, 45s. Found a hip hop collection that was owned by P. Diddy's DJ. And the seller told me, yep, these came from his DJ, and he's now in jail. And I'm like, and then
sure he
before
is.
I could, I wanted to film it and be like, and is there any baby oil on these records? And then like just cut off the video, you know. So we didn't do it. I didn't go Sunday, you know. If I went Sunday, then I would have met Jack White and then like referred to him as like, well, that's Jack Black, right? You know, or like talked about his UHQR. So what does Meg think about this UHQR? Like that wouldn't have went well.
She doesn't care.
That's right. She does not care.
See, vinyl and kicks knows.
That's true. I don't know. Like none of us. Joel, did you get something signed by Raekwon?
No.
Somebody
I
know
had
did.
the Cuban links. Actually, you have it right behind me. I thought about it, but I was too busy, honestly. Even if I wanted to go over there, I wanted to see because when he comes, he brought stuff from his own collection to sell, and I at least wanted to look through it. But by the time I had enough free time to go over and look at it, they said everything was sold. So
Wow.
I
That's
at least
interesting.
wanted to see what they had because last year they brought Killer Priest and they brought some like what they called an exclusive drop. I don't remember what it was, but again, I was just too busy to even go over there. But I think that seller that does that, he's a producer out of New York. He's got a store up there. I have his card around here somewhere. I think it's called Producer Plug. And he had a lot of good stuff to sell. He had Gangstar. He had all this Mobb Deep, which you don't see very often.
Nice.
He had he had all the different Wu-Tang records. I told him I wanted Capadon as the Pillage, but he didn't have it on him. He had it back at the house or back in the store.
Well, he bought most of the 12 inches from that guy that I bought the 12 inches. You
Oh
know?
yeah, that was the guy with the 50% off boxes.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, he rated them. He had a copy of he did have a Capadon 12-inch. Terry said, but one of the guys already bought it out of that box. See, the thing is like, I have all these friends there at the record convention, but they tell me about the cool shit late when it's already gone. Isn't that right, Jason? I didn't get any texts from you like 50% off boxes. I hear from Terry like after it's already been rated.
Damn.
Wow, there we go.
Shots fired.
What a villain.
I know, right? Man, I'm sorry I didn't let you know that I got no diggity from that, for $5 or the first Tribe record for $5. I'm sorry.
What?
You should put it on and we can have a little dance party here,
All right, let's go back. Last words on the Discogs Median. Come on. Chris, did you want to show those things or you want to skip that part?
I think we're past that unless these guys want to show it, but I think we should go closing statements here.
Yep, closing statements. Dom, closing statement on the Median.
I'm pro Median. I think it's a helpful tool, and I think you can't use that as the deciding factor. It's a good place to start.
Here we go. Joel, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think sellers and whether you're the original seller or the reseller, you need tools. The problem is that the links that I gave you, the thing I was going to point out about them was the fact that like if a median price is $60, but there's none for sale in your country, like none for sale in the U.S. Well, don't expect to get it for $60. You know what I mean? So when someone gets upset because it costs a little bit more, look at the shipping. Like if you were to order that from the UK or whatever, that's what $25-$30 shipping or whatever. So just use it as a data point and not the data point.
Yeah.
And I also feel like when you're selling records to stores, don't, because I told this story to you guys offline, but I went to go buy a collection from a guy, and I always, when I'm buying a collection, just to kind of break the ice, I say, hey, do you have any idea what you want to get for all this, just to kind of get a sense of where we're at. And when they pull out their phone and show me, the median price on Discogs of the collection, I tell them, like, I know this isn't going to go well, because I'm not going to give you anywhere close to the median price. Or I don't want to say nowhere close, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not, if that's what you're expecting, you wouldn't even get that if you sold it yourself. So, it's such an uphill battle when you have to spend all that time educating everybody on what you should use the median price for. But at the same time, like, I'm glad it's there. It's, I don't think it's going to help anybody to get rid of it.
Fair point. Groove Seeker.
It's the leading indicator where you got to dig. You got to dig, like what Joel's saying, dig on condition that was sold, take that into consideration. You got to look at other sources, got to look at eBay, PopPsych, Amazon, whatever the case may be, wherever you can get more of an indicator of what the true value is. But don't use it to overvalue or even undervalue your records. Make sure you look at the details behind the data. That's the safest bet, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rojas.
Yeah.
Give us a mic drop.
I have to say, these people on the panel, I want to thank Dom, Joel, Groove Seeker. These guys are all paid by Discogs, and they're getting promos. So they all praise them.
Feels good.
I think Discogs, I agree, it's a tool, but like not all the data is legit, right? So everything can be skewed. You take it with a grain of salt, or else you're going to be ill and. That's right. This is how we're going to end this. So I want to thank my panelists. I want to thank everyone in the chat for joining in. And we'll see you next time.